Chinese harbors are the best harbors in the world. Unlike those of the Western world, where seagoing vessels neatly line the piers, a Chinese port like Shanghai is a beehive of thousands of small boats, from river sampans to ocean-going junks and steamers. What is the reason for so many boats? Let us imagine that we are in a plane coming from the United States and that we can see clear across China. At China's back door lies the highest mountain range in the world, the Himalayas. Here is the chief source of China's many rivers. There are few railroads and practically no highways in this large country, and rivers must provide the avenues of transportation to the interior. In a province like Fujian, it is the Min River and its boats or sampans which keep the people in touch with the outside world. The little sampans penetrate deep into the heart of the province, carrying needed supplies inland and bringing out produce such as food and lumber to the cities. Sampans may be small craft, but they are sturdy. They go through dangerous rapids and almost impassable waterways. Sometimes, the river sailors must haul their boats for miles when the channel becomes too shallow or too rocky. The trip upriver is an arduous one, but the little sampans are slow and sure. And the province of Fujian owes its continued life to the riverboat sailors and their small vessels. Fuqiao is the capital of Fujian province. The harbor is crowded with boats of all kinds, sampans and junks of every size and shape, each one doing a job of its own. There are cotton boats, pig boats, and ice boats, and sampans that specialize in carrying hay or straw. There are boats which collect garbage and sewage, rescue boats and seagoing taxi cabs and buses, which take working people to their jobs. Rush hours are as crowded as a subway. Some sampans specialize in carrying coffins to ancestral burying grounds up the river. Still others take a bride to meet her bridegroom. Some help to unload the big liners from far away. Here in the harbor, not on land, is the heartbeat of Fuqiao. Sampans have still another important use. They provide rent-free homes for families. They are very crowded homes by our standards, but the Chinese, like most Asiatic peoples, seem to have a genius for adapting themselves to uncomfortable living conditions. A tiny deck can become a sewing room, at least when it's not in use for catching fish. Even ducks and geese know how to thrive in cramped living quarters, and it doesn't seem to impair their appetites. Crowded as a sampan may be, there's still room for a small flower garden. Sampans provide a family with more than a home. As fishing vessels, they offer a way of getting food. Fish is the essential item in a sampan family's diet. Like all Chinese, these people believe in cleanliness. Many families are Christian. This one happens to be Catholic. This is Ling Fung, the father of the family. Mr. Ling's only skill is fishing. The harbor fishing grounds are not productive, but he catches enough for food, with a few left over to sell. Most of his small earnings go to buy cloth for clothes. Mrs. Ling is tailor and dressmaker for the whole family. It's time now to move to the fishing grounds and begin the day's work. A sampan requires a skill with the oars quite different from that used in a rowboat. The rower stands at the opposite side of the boat for greater leverage. The whole family joins in the rowing, even mother and the children. Children get their sea legs early, and they rarely fall overboard. Strapped to their mother's backs, they learn the rhythm of the oar even before they learn to walk. By the age of 5, they take hold of the oar themselves. A sampan family lives and works together, not just sometimes, but all the time, 24 hours a day. Fishing at Pagoda Anchorage is not exciting by a sportsman's standards. The fishing grounds are almost exhausted, and the fish themselves are pathetically small. Mr. Ling averages 3 to 6 saleable fish a day. The very smallest are kept as food for the family. While Mr. Ling fishes, lunch is being prepared. The family's diet may be monotonous, but it's well balanced. Greens are nearly always included. Luck is with Mr. Ling today. Here's a fish that is big enough to be sold. The money will go toward buying material for clothing or food staples like rice. In southern China, rice is an essential part of almost every meal. Just before lunch is ready, another fish is brought up in the net. The same menu day after day seems to have no bad effect on the family's appetite. They eat their fish, rice, and greens with as much gusto as an American family tackling a Thanksgiving turkey. In the afternoon, when the day's fishing is done, the nets are spread to dry. Now the family will begin the long haul home. Home for the sampan is the secluded spot upriver where it always anchors for the night, secure from possible storms and bad weather. On the way home, they meet a cormorant fisherman and his birds. This provides as much entertainment for the children as an afternoon at the movies does for American youngsters. These birds are called cormorants, and they have been taught to do the fishing for their master. They begin their training when they are only little chicks. The children are fascinated as the performance begins. The birds, in spite of their training, always need coaxing. They know they won't be able to eat the fish they catch, because the collars they wear around their necks will make it impossible for them to swallow. And so at first they are unwilling to start. But soon their natural instinct to fish gets the better of them, and they go to work. Cormorant fishermen catch many more fish than the net fishermen do, and by comparison, they are quite prosperous. For the Ling family, the day has been an uneventful one, exactly the same as countless others. Like all sampan families, they have no idea of what it's like to live on land or own it. The water is their home, and it will be their home till the day they die. The next morning, the sun will rise again over the sheltered part of the river where the sampan rests for the night. The Ling family will wake up again in their floating home, glad that the sun is shining, hopeful that the day's fishing will be good. And once more, they will set about their work. Downriver in the harbor, a new day is beginning too, and the sampans are already hard at work. The big liners must be loaded and unloaded. Foodstuffs and materials, passengers and livestock must be transported to Phu Chau and beyond. As late as 1933, there were only 4 footpaths linking Phu Chau with the interior. Even today, the main burden of transportation rests on the humble sampan and on the sturdy, hard-working sampan people. Without them, China could not long survive.